Hey everybody, this is Fang with this week's Design Cinema video tutorial, and I've uploaded in front of you here the image we'll be working on today. So this is another paint over by a student of ours. This time it's actually a certificate student, meaning that this is not a full-time diploma student here at school, but rather this student, it's actually a female, a girl, works in a video game company. I believe one of the major Japanese companies, either Koei or one of those studios. So she's actually a professional, and her work is quite good. So this paint over is a little more complex than the usual ones we do because these are experienced professionals. So we're trying to feed as much information as possible to them. So just like the previous ones, I'm going to turn off some of these layers, but in particular, we're going to talk about something quite important in this tutorial, which is how to do stuff in very high res. Even though this tutorial, it's semi-high res, but it's not really. However, the techniques I'll show you in here could be used to do very, very complex paintings without making your file huge, and we'll get to that in a bit. So first, let's turn off some of these layers. So this is my main paint over layer. You can see here. I'm gonna turn this off. Boom. Okay. So this is the previous image. It's actually pretty cool. When she first showed this in class, I thought I was quite impressed. I go, it works as a production painting. It has the general idea, which looks like some kind of city that's been taken over by plants. And these native people build two towers with these skeletons on it. So overall, as a design and as a painting, it actually does work. If working in production, I could definitely build this. Then there's perspective in here, so overall it looks correct. However, they're taking this class to see what could it take this painting, how could we take it to a higher level. So we'll quickly go through the kind of steps I did on top of this painting here. So let me turn this layer back on. So you can see here's the my paint over of it. You can see the idea of it is the same. The only thing I'm missing is I actually left out the people. It just ran out of time. This painting actually took a while, probably I'm guessing about an hour and a half or so. A little bit more complex than the usual 1 hour paint overs I do with the general students. So you can see here it's a little quite more complex. Okay, so let me turn these layers on off. Okay, you can see there's a lot of layers. When I teach, I leave all these layers on. When I'm working professionally, a lot of these things get turned off or merged because the file gets way too freaking huge. Okay. So actually, before I turn all this stuff off, I'll turn all this stuff off. I'll show you exactly step by step what actually took place. Okay, see here, there is this miniature group. Okay, before I do the paint over, I actually want to rebalance the painting, give certain things a priority, and that's what these layers do. So they're quick, dirty paint over. You can see super quick. Just swatch out some of the characters out. I also made this two skeleton sculptures or these bamboo or ancient looking buildings looking more big on the page to give it priority, because you can see the previous one, they're kind of small. If you're gonna sell this as your main piece, let me just get a layer in here so I can make notes. Bonk, bonk, bonk. All right. When we first look at this image, this is obviously the selling point of what we want to do is right here. Right? Everything out here sort of helps the painting, but the selling point is here. This is where the player or the film watcher, or whatever this project is for, is going to see. This is it. So let's make that as most prominent as we can. So I enlarged the size, you can see here. Right? I adjusted a little bit palette. I also made it black and white. So we bring it all back to values, because the original piece, right, if we look at it here, this will be the original area here. There's too much contrast, there's too much stuff going on. We have pure blacks in a lot of these areas, and we have a completely blown out white sky. If we look at the original, you can see here, this is the original piece. The sky here is completely washed out. It's quite dangerous to do because it gives it almost like a nuclear dawn, like a nuclear war happened and the sky is just so blown out. It's not very realistic, and two, it's just too much contrast. You have this almost solid black in these areas with pure, these are 255 or 100% white. If you look at Photoshop sampling, right, it's 255, it's pure white. And generally you want to avoid situations like this where the sky is like completely white, unless you do something graphical. It's just not that realistic in a way. Okay, so that's what this layer sort of did, this little the first layer I did here, whoops, not yet, which is adjust the proportions, get rid of the people. And then what I did is I put a layer just to block out everything underneath. And I have this layer. So this is similar to if you watch the blue robot in the snow walker tutorial. Very similar, where we took all these images here, but they're not really there to serve as the painting. They're there to give us value. So if I knock these back, you can see it's completely, random, completely random images. They're not in the perspective of what I need. They're not anything. What I'm getting out of these are the values. Is that I'm trying to mix my palette as much as I can. Right? In the traditional days, it would be like kind of mixing a canvas with all these colors and all these values, because then you can extract the different values from within this image. So this is not some kind of Photoshop thing where, oh, let's crop together something. However, there are things that are sort of related, like we have buildings on the side, we have plants, we have grass. They're related to, let me turn this image on here. They're related to this image, but they're not exactly like I'm trying to match a window into this area or put wood exactly here and match out. Nothing to do with that. It's pure value. Okay, so that's what this palette is, and it looks really messy and it's all chaotic, nothing matches in perspective, but that's the whole point. But what's actually here is, if I turn this all to black and white, I have a range of value to work with. You see, I have nice grays, I have white if I want, I have black, I have all this beautiful stuff in here, which is, a range between 0 and all the way to 10, all in here. So I can sample all this value, and this is what I need to paint with to capture. So let me turn this layer back on. So that's my kind of just crazy everything, everything value layer. And then I copy and pasted the previous layer, the one where I adjusted this layer right here. Okay, I kind of just copy and paste it right on top of the other layer and put it on multiply. So this way I can sort of see the painting. So here you can see here, that's the painting with the all the value stuff from the photos underneath. This way I can see the both of the values as well as the image. So this one I could just turn on and off to see where I'm at. And from this stage we can start painting. Let me stop Camtasia for a second here because this is a pretty big image, so I don't want to eat up all the RAM. So let's do a quick save.